moratorium or deferment, RBI had suggested the banks to make an ad hoc provision of 5 plus 5, 10% in the subsequent quarters in the year 2021. So as now we discuss that the moratorium on payment of installment and interest as applicable, which fallen due between 1st March 2020 and 31st August 2020 to all the eligible borrowers. Now, what has happened this time, very important, is that any borrower overdue on 29th February 2020, either it was in category SMA 0, 1 or 2, but was not an NPA. So all borrowers overdue as on 29th February 2020 are classified as standard between the period 1st March 2020 to 31st August 2020. So this was the circular of 27th March, 17th April and 23rd May. So these were important circulars which were issued by Reserve Bank of India, wherein specifically the banks were asked not to make an account NPA or continue the status as standard even if restructured. So when we restructure an account, we downgrade the account. But as per these notifications, RBI asked that you would not downgrade these accounts, but would continue to classify them as standard. So important here is that 29 February 2020 overdue between 1st March 2020 to 31st August, the moratorium and deferment which was available, the account still continued to be classified as standard. So this was the circulars which were issued by Reserve Bank. Second important circular which was issued, or notification which was issued with respect to income recognition and asset classification by Reserve Bank, which was of 17th April, where the bank were required to make provision on all these assets who have got the benefit of moratorium or deferment at the rate of 10%. So since the account categorized as standard, the system has not classified these accounts as NPA. System has not made provision as per the category of NPA, which is substandard, doubtful, and loss. They are still being carried in the system as standard. So banks were required to make a provision of 10%, and up to 31st 12/2020, all banks have made a provision of 10% on all these advances. In fact, based on the prudence, the central statutory auditors have additionally provided on all these accounts where the deferment or moratorium was granted, considering that these accounts would have become NPA as on 31/12/2020, additional provision over and above 10% has also been carried out. Now, RBI said that banks should do a provision of 10% on these advances carrying as standard, but as a matter of prudence, all central statutory auditors have done additional provision over and above the 10%, saying that the account would have become NPA, but since as per the circular has not become NPA, still we'll make a provision at the rate of 15% or 25% or 40%, irrespective on what category of advances they would have categorized as of 31/12. So this has already been published in the limited review reports. If you download any such reports of the banks of State Bank, Bank of Baroda, Canara Bank, Union Bank, PNB, if you see the notes on accounts which are presented by the bank, a clear 10% provision plus additional provision. So as high as 2000, SBI has done around 4,000 such crores of additional provision. PNB has done on 2,500. So Bank of India 1,000. So there are provisions which are done following the prudence concept of accounting. Third important decision which has happened this year is a case was filed with the apex court by Gajen Sharma. So this was against the Gajen Sharma versus Union of India and another, where an interim order was passed by apex court, the Supreme Court of India, on 3rd September 2020, directing that all these accounts which have got the benefit of moratorium or deferment, or even those accounts which would have been classified as NPA after 31st August, shall not be declared as NPA till further orders. So, for me as an auditor, when I visit the branch, I would not see any account being classified as NPA after 29th February 2020. So no account would be classified as NPA as per the Supreme Court order till we have another order which may come up from the Supreme Court, or we may have an RBI notification before completion of the branch statutory audit. If we do not have any such notification or any such order, so as on 31st March 2021, as an auditor, my job for making an account NPA will be zero, because it is clearly mentioned as per the order that you are not to be classified or declare any account as NPA till further orders. So to that extent, as a branch auditor, I need not to classify any account as NPA, but my responsibility to uh, put it in the audit report, or give my observation in the LFAR does not come down by not classifying an account NPA. So as an auditor, if the account would have become NPA with your observations, with your verification of documents and your professional judgment, you need to give the detailed observations, your comment based on the verification of transactions, based on verification of documents, whether the account should have become NPA, but due to this Supreme Court order has not been classified as NPA. And you should test check all such accounts which are appearing. There could be a potential NPA list, but since the system of the bank has already been placed in a way that the bank are not classifying any account as NPA. So if you reach the branch on 31st of March or after 31st of March, you would already see bank has made their system and not classifying the account as NPA. So no account has been downgraded from standard to any category of substandard, doubtful, or loss asset. But there's another point which has to be kept in mind in terms of income recognition. Now, there is a clear clarification by Reserve Bank of India to all the banks, and for us as an auditor, is important to note that any account after the moratorium or deferment period is over, which is 31st August 2020, any account where interest is not serviced effective 1st September 2020 for September, October, November, December, if there is no recovery or no collection of receipt of actual interest which is debited in the account, the income is not to be accounted for. So why the RBI says is that the benefit is only up to 31st August. So any account where interest is debited in September but not recovered will be not to be accounted for. Reason that in September, the accounts who have got the benefit of moratorium or deferment would have become NPA. So when I go as per the IRAC norms, that IRAC norm says that in case of NPA, the interest to be recognized only when it is actually collected, when you have cash received or there is a receipt against the interest debited. So please check the accounts when you are doing a sample or a test check basis of 15, 10, 15, 20 accounts or large advances in your branch. You would find that the interest is debited in September, October, November, December onwards, but there is a possibility that the amount debited is not collected. So the moment you will find that the amount debited which is not collected, you have to reverse. Now, what is happening at the bank level? As on 31st of March, bank would send a list to all the zonal office through the regional office to the branches that this is the list of the accounts where moratorium or deferment was eligible. The accounts are carrying a status as standard, but there is no receipt or collection of interest effective 1st of September. So this amount needs to be reversed. Now, in case you do not have this list, because there is a possibility when you do the audit, the list may have not received, but based on your test check of 10 or 15 accounts, you would have to check the interest actual recovery in the account. If not recovered, you should cover that in your audit report, giving reference to the RBI circular, and also put it in the LFAR, so that when the audit report is received to the central statutory auditors, they would know that this process or system has not been actually implemented at the branches, and branches have still booked income up to 31st March 2021. What central statutory auditors are doing, for information to all of you, that if in case any account or any branch is not reversing the income, now central statutory auditors, as a policy for bank as a whole, they are not reversing the income which is debited in the income side. Central statutory auditors are making a corresponding provision to the extent of income which is credited. So suppose if total bank as a whole 100 crores of income which is credited to income side, and out of which 60 crores only is received, bank is making, or central statutory auditors is asking the bank to make an equal provision of interest amount not received in the debit side of P&L as 40 crores. So you would may have a case where, like as of December 31st 12 2020, banks have done a corresponding provision to the amount equal to interest which is credited. So there is a possibility as on 31st March, if in case that the list or the statement giving list of accounts where the interest to be reversed is not available at the branch, kindly pick up few samples of those accounts of 5, 10, 15 accounts you're checking, or when you are checking those large advances for LFAR reporting, kindly also check the interest income if debited and the account is not is classified as standard as per the RBI circular, but would have become NPA, the income should have reversed. So kindly put this observation in the audit report and also give detailed observation in the LFAR for the central statutory auditors to know that these reversals have not been taken place at the branch level. So these are very important RBI clarification which I wanted to share in terms of asset classification and provisioning. I thought there's about 15-20 minutes, very important for each one of us as a branch auditor, that assets have to be stated as standard, no categorization or downgradation to be done for the year ending 31st March 2021, except the income where needs to be confirmed if accounted for should be reversed. 10% provision which I spoke to will be done at bank at central office. So to the extent of 10% of provision of the outstanding, it is be taken care at head office. But please do cover it in your audit report. Please mention 17th April circular about the provision. Please mention the benefit borrowers have got, where the accounts are classified as standard, income not reversed. So all these observations must be placed in the audit report for the central statutory auditors to know that this process is not being done at branch level, provisioning is not done at branch level, downgrading is not done as per the Supreme Court order, and you as an auditor, you are aware that these circulars clearly mention all these observations which you have reported. Next is another very important issue which I would like each one of you to be careful while doing the branch audit. We have been doing branch statutory audit for so many years. We all know that Reserve Bank of India carry out the annual financial inspection of each branch of a particular bank. Now, these branch are classified in A, B, C category. So depending on the size of the branch, the RBI is picking up these branches each year. And there is a possibility that the branch which you are undertaking this year is also being picked up by Reserve Bank in coming months. Generally, the Reserve Bank of India, after our audit, carry out the inspection during the month of November, December, after the end of 31st March of that relevant year. So 31st March 21 audit done by us would be first, second or third week of April. Reserve Bank will pick up your branch in the month of November, December. So you can imagine or understand the gap of 8 months, which is there where your audit is completed. After that, due to your occupancy and other busyness, you may not be able to have, the reply which may be submitted to Reserve Bank when if a letter is received from RBI on any accounts clarification or any account or borrower which has been verified by you at your particular branch. So last inspection was carried out in December 2019, where almost 29,000 of divergence between the asset classification made by branch statutory auditors and the central statutory auditors with what has been identified by RBI. So almost 29,000 crores of advances which are not classified by us. When I say us, as the branch statutory auditors and central auditors, RBI has found divergence and have sent letters of caution to all the branch auditors, or wherever they have found there is a divergence between 10 to 15% of what they have identified and what's been reported by the branch auditors. So please, you have to keep it in mind that whichever account you have picked up for verification as a document, as a working paper, as an evidence, you should have that papers, documents, supporting correspondence in your file for whatever account you have selected. And you have, based on your judgment, documents, evidence, you have classified the account as standard or further suggested for downgradation. So please make sure that any such account where you feel that technically it should be qualified, it should be downgraded, or should have become NPA, but because of the Supreme Court order or because of the system related issues, the account has not been downgraded. So please cover these accounts in your audit report, which would be relevant, and also give detailed observation in the LFR. So kindly be sure of the selection of the advances, the selection of accounts you're doing for advances, and all these evidences, correspondence, documents is available with you, because 8 months is a long time where you leave the branch, and sometimes when you want a document from the branch later on, it would be very difficult, because that AGM badal gaya, kabhi chief manager badal gaya, ya contact details mein there are changes, the person has moved from one branch to another, so you will not have same person responding, and nobody in the bank or branch would help you with the document you want to reply to the RBI observations. So please ensure a complete document or evidences available with you for whatever accounts being verified. More particularly, the revised LFR, which I'll be discussing, there is a lot of expectation of RBI in terms of qualitative and quantitative audit. There is a lot of responsibility which is being shifted due to the increase in size, complexity, risk in the banking operations. There's a lot of onus has now become onto us, where we would be doing a transactional audit, we would be doing an IS audit, we would be an auditor who would report the early warning signals to the bank management or to the audit committee. We'll also be working as a forensic auditor at some point of time. When you see the revised clause which are made in the notification of 6th September, that each point now has to be reported without giving no such case found or yes or not applicable. So those are now not to be strictly reported. There has to be a specific reply, cannot be a general reply. So when we discuss the the detailed revised LFR, we would see each and every revised clause specifically where the expectation of the stakeholder or RBI has tremendously shifted on us, and they want the auditors to report all such instances, and each instance which you report has also to be covered in the revised LFR. अगर आपने 25 अकाउंट रिव्यू किए हैं और उसमें से आपको 10 में ऑब्जर्वेशन मिली है, आपको पूरे 25 अकाउंट का नाम, अकाउंट नंबर और डिटेल्स डालनी है, एंड यू विल हैव टू से दैट हाँ, this particular account, this was the observation, this particular account, this was the observation. So there is a very specific requirement of RBI in this revised LFR that each account which is picked up as sample has an observation that why you have reported this account in the LFR. This is just a standard few things which as an auditor we should have it with us or should go through before we commence the branch statutory auditor. Of course, we all know master circular or directions जो RBI issue करता है. Last master circular on IRAC norms, very important, was issued on 1st of July 2015, which got expired on 30th June 2016. So that was the last year when master circular was issued. Since 1st July 2016, master directions for each change in the master circular, master directions are being issued. I'll also be sharing a list of all such circulars which are relevant for the audit for the year 2021. I have already shared the branch LFR, the branch statutory audit LFR with the branch, Bhopal branch, which I think they've already circulated in the group. So this is the revised word format of LFR, which I have shared with all of you, giving the verification method and your comments and views which needs to be entered in the LFR. So kindly go through this LFR and make sure that whichever revised comments have been properly incorporated in the LFR when we do the branch audit in the month of April. Closing circulars issued internally by bank. We know that bank every year, particularly this year, would be very important because a lot of changes would have been done in the system. A lot of circulars must have been issued over the year 2021 to branches through the controlling authorities for a lot of regulatory packages which has been shifted from Reserve Bank and Government of India and Reserve Bank to banks and to branches. So kindly ensure कि कॉपी ऑफ सर्कुलर आपके पास अवेलेबल है. अगर यूजली 3-4 years 5 years बैक जब अपॉइंटमेंट लेटर्स आते थे तो यूज टू गेट अ बुकलेट ऑफ दीज सर्कुलर्स along with the appointment letter, but now the bank is not sending these circulars or the closing guidelines to the branch statutory auditors, but please make sure कि आपके पास कॉपी सॉफ्ट कॉपी में अवेलेबल हो. If you have not received along with the appointment letter, request the respective RO or the head office from where the appointment letter is received to send you the closing instructions specifically for the particular branch. So you should have it, should read it, discuss with your team who's doing the audit, because if you allotted 2 branches or any number of branch, it would be very difficult that you go unprepared at the branch, and when you see the closing instructions, there could instructions differ from bank to bank. So if I'm doing Bank of Baroda or anyone who's doing State Bank, now State Bank is following a practice or has followed a practice on various process, may be different in some case at BOB. So please have these instructions, closing guidelines with you before you commence the audit and discuss with your team, whoever is visiting the branches. Guidance note on bank audit. We all know whatever regulatory changes are made, there are a lot of circulars which are issued by Reserve Bank. There are guidance from institute which are updated each year. This year also the guidance note is still not been released by ICAI, but there is an exposure draft which is already released on bank audit. Kindly have this exposure draft. It's a 975-page exposure draft which you must see for whatever important points you want to refer. More particularly, I would say there is a section of branch statutory audit we should see. What are the changes which are there as per the notification of revised LFR? It's all been covered in exposure draft. How you have to check and verify each point, the procedure or the process to be followed is all given exposure draft. The updated audit reports, the bank audit programs, the inquiry letter, the letter of engagement, management representation letters, all this is available in the guidance note, the exposure draft which is issued. So kindly download this exposure draft which is released by ICAI. Wherever relevant, update your records in terms of the guidance note. Whatever changes which has happened, kindly have them in Word form. There is a checklist on advances which is available. Kindly have all these documents ready before commencement of audit. So these are very important circulars, instructions, and guidance note, which would be made a guidance note very soon, but is available as an exposure draft. Before you commence the audit, you should have or go through them once, discuss with your team, and prepare your audit program accordingly. Before I take up the revised LFR, I thought just quickly I'll 10 minutes go into the overview and planning. We all know once we receive the appointment letter, there is a declaration which has to be submitted to the bank that none of the partners or employee or qualified is disqualified for being appointment or appointed as an auditor. So kindly ensure that no disqualification is carried with the firm or any of the partners, and a declaration among the partners should be obtained and kept as a document in your permanent audit file or your office file audit file, because this is very important when a peer review is done as per the requirement of standards on quality control, which I say SQC1. The document is available with you on record and is required during peer review. So please ensure that any disqualification is confirmed among all of us as a partner of the firm and is kept in the file as a permanent file as a working paper. NOC, we uh, obtain the details of previous auditor from the bank. The appointed bank gives you the details. Kindly ensure that a previous auditor mail is sent for NOC, either sent by post or email, to confirm before you commence the audit. Issue of audit engagement letter. This is a standard requirement as per standards on auditing 210. Kindly ensure that whatever the responsibility as an auditor you are carrying out and what is the responsibility of the branch, there is a clear distinction in the work and understanding in the objective and the scope of the audit. An audit engagement letter is issued to the branch. So please have SS 210 with you. Prepare an audit engagement letter. The draft is already available in the exposure draft of the bank audit, which I shared of ICAI. You can issue them when you reach the branch. Just a confirmation that this is your scope and this is your responsibility as an auditor, and this is the responsibility of the bank. Inquiry letter. Before we commence the audit, list down the requirement. जो भी आपको बैंक से requirements चाहिए, whatever previous audit reports you want the bank to make it ready, whatever documents you want, whatever list you want, should be sent in the branch inquiry letter through mail, so that all these documents are ready, made available to you when you reach the branch. We all know there is limitation of time, and we have to complete the audit of a branch in 3 to 4 days, or may take 5 days. But particularly with revised LFR, when we discuss, you'll find that lot of requirement of RBI in terms of qualitative and quantitative audit documentation, which needs to be kept in file. So any information which you want well in advance should be sent to the branch and obtained over mail before you commence the audit to save time. Audit program, where you can prepare, you can have the revised LFR, whatever the requirement based on revised LFR can be made in the audit program. This format is already available in the exposure draft. Kindly have this format, fill all the details for one branch, one audit program should be prepared, which would be an important documents which would be there in the permanent file for peer review. A pre-audit meeting, now we don't get an opportunity, but earlier there used to be a pre-audit meeting with the branch officials. Now the important would be that we sent an inquiry letter giving all the requirements you want before commencement of audit, so that data is either available over mail or readily available when you reach the branch. So communication should be done before time, or if it's a local branch, a pre-audit meeting can be fixed with the branch official before the audit is commenced. Reports, we know, like I said, concurrent audit reports, stock audit, revenue audit, RBI annual risk assessment, branch auditors previous year, system audit, RFIA reports in case of SBI. So all these reports which are available should be reviewed, understand, get an insight about the irregularities which are persisting at the branch, so that when you are doing an actual review or audit at the branch, you are able to find out which are the large advances where the comments are still not complied with, the adverse features, adverse comments given by various auditors during the year are still not being complied with. So kindly obtain these reports, review them, and wherever required for non-compliance not done by the branch should be reported at the respective points under LFR. Concurrent audit reports, the branch which you are doing, if it's under concurrent audit, अगर उसका February का audit complete है, March, usually we know कि by the time we finish the branch audit, March audit is not completed. So if the auditor is internal auditor among the bank officials, kindly have a meeting, confirm all the adverse comments, observations up to February or even for March files reviewed by him has all been complied with. All revenue leakages which are there at the branch, all KYC compliances or any such issues which are pending has all been taken care by the branch, and a letter confirming that no material observations are pending should be obtained either from the internal concurrent auditors or from external concurrent auditors. So very important, because this will really help you to confirm if there are any points which are open, have been rectified or complied with by the branch. These are some of the list, a very important list. I mentioned about the exposure draft, which is issued by ICAI. Now, when you have this exposure draft downloaded, you will find there is a list of 45 such items already been given in the exposure draft. I have just selected few such lists which would assist you to carry out effective audit, timely audit, and have a document or an evidence in completing the audit in time. Quickly, I'll go through this list. Initially, if you see the first list, which talks about the IRAC norms, which says that there are no credits in standard non-agriculture advances for more than 90 days, or if the interest debited, the credits are not enough to cover the interest which is debited, or there are no credits during the last 90 days. Now, I'll come back to that Supreme Court order, which is very important. Now, 3rd September order clearly states that the account will not be classified as NPA as on 31st March 2021. But in case you have any such account in the list which are generated from the system, still needs to be reported, because may not be an NPA, but will become NPA the moment there is a notification from Reserve Bank or there is a further clarification or order which is issued by Supreme Court of India. So please report any such instances where you find in any cash credit account where there are no credits or interest are not being interest debited but no enough credits, or the credits are more than 90 days old. Have this list from the system, put it in the audit report, and also place it in the LFR that these are the accounts which should have been downgraded, which should have become NPA, but because of this Supreme Court order has not been classified as NPA. In these accounts, you also need to check the income recognition. Now, any account after September 2020, like I already mentioned, अगर इनकम डेबिट हो रही है, अकाउंट में डेबिट हो रही है, इनकम क्रेडिट हो रही है, so please make sure that such accounts are reported in the audit report and interest is reversed if not done by a list which is received from the branch or the bank. If there is a list already received up to 31st March 2021, the bank themselves will reverse the income. If they don't have any such list received, then you identify based on your sample whichever accounts you have identified, kindly put it in the audit report. Also ask the branch to issue MOC, but I have already mentioned that this issue would be taken up centrally, and if the reversal is not done at the branch, would be done at bank as a whole by not reversing the income, but there is a corresponding debit which is being passed by the central statutory auditors by an equal amount, so that you have an income which is not received, there is no actual receipt of money against which you'll have a provision of the equal amount. Next is the, if there are advances where there is amendment in date of NPA. Now we know 29th February 2020. After that, there is no account which is to be classified as NPA. But prior to 29th February 2020, if there is an account which is already classified as NPA, if as on the date of your audit, you find the date of NPA has changed, when you have a list of NPA of last year or prior to 29th February 2020, and you find an account which was classified as NPA in 2018 and has a change in date, and the date has changed to 2019. So please check why this date has changed from 18 to 19, because this would affect the provisioning from substandard to D1 or from D1 to D2. The reason could be that if there is any upgradation, there is any recovery which is there in the account, there is a possibility the account may would have shifted from category from substandard to standard again, and may have further again be classified as NPA. So please check in the Excel, you can list down and all such date of NPA of 29 February and the date in the earlier years when classified as NPA. List of substandard NPA where provision held is less than 15%. We know if you have a substandard account as per the IRAC norms, 15% provision should be maintained. If it is not 15% based on your calculation, kindly check which particular account the provision is not done at 15%. There could be a case where system has made provision as has not picked up provision at 15% of particular account, the provisioning is done less than 15%. So this could be a system error, but this report will give you an idea. You can straight away calculate all these four reports: NPA provision in substandard not 15%, D1 not 25%, D2 not 40%, and D3 not 100%. So please have this report, check the advance, total advance against which check the provision. If it is more than 15%, more than 25, 40, then I think to that extent, as an auditor, I'm comfortable, because there could be an account which could be unsecured. So minimum 25, 40 or 15 should be there in the various category of advances. Quick mortality, NPA made within 1 year from the date of advances, from the date of sanction. This is an important point. Again, this year has been specifically asked in revised clause of LFAR, which are such cases in quick mortality. Now, there is a requirement specifically which has been added in the LFAR this year, that any case where you find has become NPA in within 12 months from the date of sanction has to be reported under that section of LFAR. So please obtain this list. This would give you an idea if any such account is appearing. First thing is why it is appearing, because the bank is not making any account NPA, but still if the account has been classified as NPA, why is being classified and why it is appearing in quick mortality report. List of LCs devolved during the period, list of bank guarantees invoked during the period, agriculture accounts where there are no credits for more than 36 months. This list would help you to identify if there are no credits in agriculture advances for more than 36 months. All accounts should be downgraded and should have been classified. But because there is a moratorium and after 29th February, no account has been classified, we can at least ensure up to 29th February 20, if any such accounts which should have become NPA and has not been classified should be reported at the relevant section in the LFAR and also covered in the audit report. As we cannot give an MOC on 31st March or classify the account NPA, but this list would at least be attached along with the audit report, giving that these are the accounts where there are no credits more than 36 months, which should have been classified as NPA, but not been done for reasons of Supreme Court order. Advances, review, renew pending for more than 180 days, stock statements not received for more than 3 months, and 180 days, as the case may be, to classify as irregular or NPA. Now, there is another list which is generated from the system. We know that the account are classified borrower wise and not facility wise. So please have a list called one account NPA, all account NPA. Now, if there is a borrower जिसकी limit CCB, जिसको limit CCB दी है, term loan भी है, there's a housing loan, then there is any other loan, please check that any such account which is classified as NPA, crash credit account classified as NPA, term loan has been done, but housing नहीं किया या any other account is not done. All account of that borrower should be classified as NPA. So this list would give you an idea. If there is any account which is not being classified, should be immediately done for the accounts classified as NPA before 29 February 20. CC account with primary security as nil. Potential NPA, SMA categories. Again, SMA has been specifically now asked by Reserve Bank to report in the revised LFR. We categorize account as SMA 0, 1 and 2 based on number of days. Has to be specifically now commented upon in the LFR. Potential NPA, you will not have a potential NPA list, but you may get a pro forma NPA list this time at the banks or at the branches, that these are the NPAs which should have become NPA but has not been classified and are being classified as standard because of Supreme Court order. So kindly check at the branch if any such potential NPA or any such pro forma NPA list is available, should be obtained and should be thoroughly checked for classifying the account prior to 29th February. It should have become as NPA, but still not been classified as NPA up to 31st March. Valuation of security we obtain should not be older than 3 years. There is a specific requirement of Reserve Bank in the revised clause that all NPA accounts or standard accounts evaluation latest is available, and if there is any substantial deterioration in the value of security, the same has to be reported in the sample which you have picked up. So please check thoroughly valuation reports latest available, and if there is any substantial deterioration in the value, further downgradation for account already classified as NPA should be done or should be reported in the LFR. Advances where interest rate has become zero, there could be a list or you can obtain a list at the branch which says that 5 accounts which the rate of interest is zero. So there could be a manual intervention or manual entries which could have done at the branch in terms of rate of interest. There is a feeding error in the interest. You know, there is an MCLR or an external benchmarking rate, EBLR. Now, this is a rate which has been fixed by the bank for various products. Plus, there is a spread or pegging which is done for those particular borrowers based on the sanction. So kindly check if putting the spread or pegging, there is some manual intervention with which the interest rate has become zero. So obtain a list. If there are no case, then there is no problem. But if there is even a single case, why the interest has not been debited and should have been debited, we have to issue MOC for interest rate to be charged effective whatever date as per the sanction, and calculate interest and issue MOC. External credit rating not obtained, not updated. Now, this is again a very important report and specifically now asked by Reserve Bank as a revised clause that wherever there is an exposure of a borrower above 5 crores, external credit rating is not obtained. please check that external credit rating not obtained or is available, which is older than 12 months or less than 12 months, but not updated. Because external credit rating not updated in the system, a higher risk is carried on by the bank or by the branch, and additional rate of interest is charged. So 0.5%, 1%, depending on the letter of sanction. Letter sanction clearly state कि external credit rating अगर नहीं ली है तो 0.5 or 1% additional rate to be charged. So if there is an exposure of 5 crores and above and the rating is not available, this list would give you such list, and also has to be reported specifically at the LFR. These are just, I've listed down the relevant standards on auditing which should be followed during a bank branch audit. All these essays, exposure draft, they've already given these essays and the description about these essays. Like we discussed about the audit documentation, the audit engagement letter, the quality control for an audit of financial statements, planning of an audit before you commence, materiality in planning. Now we know there is a materiality which is fixed for each bank in terms of issuing MOC. So what is the materiality which is fixed for your particular bank would be available in the closing instructions or a circular which should be available at the branch, that no MOC to be issued for 5,000 or below, or 50,000 or 1 lakh, depending on the size of the branch. So please have these instructions, understand the materiality in planning and performing the audit. Audit evidences, analytical procedures we have to carry out, various analysis in profit and loss account and balance sheet, various comparisons has to be done, and ratios to be calculated to give our conclusion. Audit sampling, going concern, whether it is due to COVID-19, there is some effect on the going concern on the financial statements, have to be checked through SAS 570. Written representation, this is again very important, SA 580, because when you see the clauses of LFAR, there are certain point of time where you're not able to reply or conclude a clause, or you don't have any observation, but you need to confirm through a written representation. So please have this written representation, a management representation with you. A format is already given in the exposure draft. Wherever relevant, looking to the size of the branch, should be modified and should be issued well on time before you leave the branch, and should be obtained from the branch manager, so that you confirm whichever areas you've not been able to get comments, or you've not been able to confirm the observation, a written representation is obtained. Using the work of another auditor may not be very important at the branch level, but important at central statutory level. Audit report formats, SS 700, 70, 705, and 706. Now, this is again very important, that 700 we issue where we have an unmodified opinion. If we have any qualification, any modified, then 705 is to be issued. There are certain paras or certain matters which you want the central statutory auditors to know, but may not be in the nature of qualification. So please include those matters as emphasis on matter or key audit matters, and report at the relevant place as per the format of SS 700. Key audit matters is applicable in case of listed company, but any such matter which you want the auditors, the central auditors to know, can be placed as key audit or other matters at the relevant place in the audit report. So please have the latest audit report format wherever it is applicable for qualified or an unqualified opinion, should be obtained and should be issued before the branch audit is complete. Now, the topic which we all hear for, the long form audit reporting, the revised long form audit report. Quickly, I'll couple of slides, I'll give you a little background. What is the expectation of RBI, the regulator, and why there was a need for the revision of LFAR after almost 19 years now. The last LFAR on 17th April 2001, which was issued 2001-2, has now been revised. The earliest LFAR stand repealed, and now a new LFAR on 5th of September 2020 has become applicable for the financial year 2021 and onwards. So please have this notification with you. Kindly check the LFAR which you are signing, issuing is as per the notification. All the revised clause and the format is as per the notification and not been issued as was issued last year. If there is, not change in the system, or there are some points, clauses which are also the order is changed. So please make sure that you check the notification, compare your LFAR which you are issuing is in line with the notification. Now, looking why it was needed was because of the large scale size, change in size of business, the complexity, the risk in banking operations. The RBI felt that it is long due, awaited, and is revised. Focus not only on the advances is the most relevant part which we have been reporting over the years, but now there is a lot of expectation of the RBI to report in the operational areas. So when I am doing an audit and preparing an LFAR, it is not just the advances, even the operational part of the branch, of the entire branch which we are doing, is to be reported. So when you see the clauses, you will see that there is so many clause where there is a specific reply to be given. There cannot be just a general reply. So a specific question for which reply has to be specific. Audit report and LFAR. Remember, we issue audit report when we complete the audit. There may be cases where the LFAR has been issued later, but my suggestion is that one, as an auditor, I should complete the LFAR before issuing the audit report. So please complete the LFAR, discuss with the branch incumbent, and wherever there is an observation which you as an auditor wants to qualify the audit report, should be placed in the audit report and elaborated in the LFAR. And if there is any information which you want the central statutory auditors to know, so please make sure that audit reports once signed is signed after finalizing the LFAR and are issued together, because LFAR is usually issued to Reserve Bank of India for bank as a whole after 60 days of signing the balance sheet, the financial statement of the bank. So your audit report, if any matter which is to be placed in the audit report as a qualification, and you have covered it in the LFAR and not an audit report, the auditor, the central auditors would not even see the LFAR, or may miss seeing it in the LFAR, because issuing an LFAR is much later date as against issuing the audit report for bank as a whole. So please, wherever there is a financial impact, wherever you find it should be a qualification, or there is an annexure which you want the auditors to know, or there is an MOC which you're not able to issue at branch level, should be sent along with the audit report as an annexure with the audit report, and also elaborated or detailed in the LFAR. So please make sure your LFAR is complete well before the audit report is issued. Important highlights which is to be covered this time and to be kept in mind: a detailed working and documentation have to be carried out to prepare revised LFAR. So without your working, without evidences, without obtaining documents, you'll not be able to complete or prepare the revised LFAR. So please make sure that whichever advance account, whatever area you are doing at that branch, there is a correspondence, there is a confirmation or a document as an evidence for completion of audit or completion of that area is available in working paper file. Auditor, I've already discussed, can no longer comment on yes, no, not applicable. He'll have to gather information to report on the revised LFAR. The expectation of RBI already discussed that we have to comment on the quantitative and qualitative reporting. We are not just doing an audit, we are doing an IS audit, because this time the focus or the audit should be in and around the system, and a lot of things has to be verified in the system rather than in the document. So each file, when you review, you'll have to check the transaction of those accounts also in the system. You have to check the rate of interest properly fed in the system. You have to check the master data is complete with all respect, the external credit rating, and various such matters which the RBI wants you to report in the revised clauses is to be covered in the LFR. So it is not just the transaction, it is IS audit. Then RBI would also is expecting you that you would be a tool for early warning signal. Yeah, LFAR would be issued, which would assist as a tool for early warning signals in various advances. So there is a circular, a very important circular of RBI of 7th May 2015, which talks about the early warning signals cases. So there's a list of 45 such items where the auditor finds that any such items which are there which gives an early warning signal, and further the account may become a red flagged account, an RFA, then it has to be specifically commented upon in the revised LFR. So please have this circular of 7th May 2015 to know the list of all 45 items of early warning signal. Forensic audit, again, I'll have to go through all the account operations in detail and comment on each account specifically. So there could be cases where I'm stepping into the shoes as a forensic auditor. So a lot of expectation of RBI in terms of qualitative and quantitative. So please make sure that whatever sample you are selecting this time is very important, because every sample picked up would have to have some observation placed in the LFR at respective places in the revised clauses. Coverage, we cover the assets, liabilities. Now I quickly take up the clauses of Reserve Bank notification 5th September, the revised clauses of LFR. Wherever I've highlighted the red ones, they are the revised clauses which have been notified this year for the audit 2021. So kindly check the Word file of LFR, which has already been circulated. You have a copy. So please go through it. I've given the comments and views which would assist you in undertaking or completing the audit and filling up the LFR. So quickly, I'll go through the clauses. Wherever there is revised, I would specifically discuss those revised clauses in the interest of the participants. We check the system maintained for effective joint custody. There is no change. So joint custody of 2 or more officials. Now verify what are the prescribed guidelines from the branch with regard to custody of vault cash and ATM cash. Now if there is a joint custody, how the vault is opened, by who are the joint custodians, who are officially as per the guidelines are allowed to open the ATM or the vault. If there is any deviations, needs to be commented upon. Custody of keys of vault ATM machine should be with the staff as per the key register. We verifying this is already as per the previous clause. Duplicate keys of cash vault and ATM machines are deposited with other branch as per the prescribed guidelines of controlling authority or head office. Kindly check that duplicate keys should be with which branch is confirmed by that respective branch that they have the duplicate keys of both cash vault and ATM. Procedures in the bank for periodical verification of cash. Earlier, ATM was not included. So in the revised clause, the ATM has been added to ensure that the procedures are strictly been adhered to. Any deviations from the process or the procedures has to be reported. Now, very important clause which is added here with respect to the ATM which is attached to the branch. Check whether balance in branch books in respect of cash with its ATM tally with respective ATMs based on year scrolls. So when we visit the branch on 5th or 6th or 4th, whatever the balance lying in ATM balance in the balance sheet should tally with the scroll which is generated by the ATM machine on 31st. So kindly
Hello, Abhay sir. Hello, hello, hello. There is some technical glitch at Abhay sir's end. We'll just fix it up and we'll get back to you.
Abhay sir, please unmute yourself.
हाँ आ गया. Please unmute yourself.
Yeah, you can hear me, right?
Yes, of course, sir. We can hear you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I'll continue. There is some technical issue. Yeah, so cash retention limit, no change. If generally exceeding the limit has to be commented upon. In case of ATM, whatever the limit which is fixed, if there is instances of excess beyond the retention limit, has to be reported in the LFAR as per the specific clause, and are being reported regularly to the head office or to the regional office wherever there is exceeding the retention limit. Insurance cover, we know we've been facing this issue all the time when we do the branch audit. Insurance cover is generally taken care at head office level, and this is a standard reply we get from each branch. Important here would be if it is carried out at the branch, kindly check the coverage of insurance is adequate for cash in hand, cash in transit, or in the ATM. If it is carried out by head office, kindly obtain a management representation that the same has been taken care at head office and no insurance cover is available at the branch. Officials who are not dealing with cash as per the prescribed guidelines of head office, they have to carry out periodical physical verification of cash on monthly basis. Kindly check if the same is being undertaken or not. Evidences are available. If there is any deviation, kindly report under this clause of LFR. Balances with RBI and other banks. Now, till last year, we didn't had the heading saying for branch with treasury operations. Now, in the notification of revised LFR, this has been specifically highlighted that this is for branch with treasury operations. So balance with RBI and other banks may not be available at the branch you are carrying the audit. In case there is any bank balance which is available, kindly confirm the balance, check the confirmation certificate received from the bank respective branch, the reconciliations, if there are any unexplained or unadjusted entries. Now, specifically, RBI has asked us any unresponded entries for more than 15 days, we have to give details of all such entries along with reason. So if there is a bank which is maintained, a bank balance which is available at a particular branch with maintained with other bank, kindly check any such unexplained, unadjusted, unresponded entries for more than 15 days. Age-wise detail has to be given along with reasons. There could be a, for example, inward clearing if that is received, which is lying in reconciliation account, should have been debited into a respective limit account or an advance or a saving bank or a current account, but has been lying in reconciliation, because the moment they gets debited in the CC or in any other account, the account would have become NPA. So kindly check any such entry where the debit should have gone to the respective account, not been done, and lying in reconciliation. Confirmation not received should be commented upon with the name of the bank and outstanding balance pending confirmation. This is again a very specific requirement which the RBI has asked in the revised clause with respect to branches which are under currency chest. So we may get a branch for audit under currency chest if there are entries originated prior to but communicated recorded after the year end in relation to such branches. Kindly check if they are unexplained, unadjusted entries. All entries with reason has to be commented upon. We know there is a daily reconciliation of such entry which is done at currency operations. The balance are daily reconciled with Reserve Bank of India. If there are any such unreconciled entries which are not explained, originated prior to year end and communicated recorded after the year end before your visit to the branch for audit, kindly obtain how old the entries are pending along with the reasons. Money at call and short notice. Again, this is applicable for branches dealing with treasury operations. We may not be doing any such branch at Madhya Pradesh, or may have one of you may, or you may have few of you treasury operations branches if you're doing bigger branches. There is only two major change or major additions in the revised clause in terms of money at call and short notice. I'll just quickly tell you the 2 points already there earlier is the instructions received from head office with regard to amount which are deposited. Obtain the guideline instructions for laid down by controlling authorities for compliances if there are any deviations to be commented upon. Now, new clause asks the auditor to verify whether interest accrued up to the year end has been accounted in branch books. So please check if you're doing any branch with treasury operations, if there is any money at call and short notice, income up to 31st March is accrued and is accounted for in the books. Also, the balance is duly confirmed, a confirmation is received, which is available in record and reconciled. If there is no confirmation, kindly mention no confirmation received with the balance outstanding in the branch books. This is another clause which is revised in the revised LFR is the investments. Till last year, we used to mention investment for branches in India. Now, RBI has specifically mentioned for branches outside India. So as an auditor, we may not be appointed branch auditors of branch outside India. So I'm not covering this point now because it is not applicable, as statutory branch auditors are locally appointed. But these are revised clause which I've already shared in the LFR and would also share this presentation through the branch to each one of you. So you can go through the revised clause, which may be useful during the audit. Advances. Now we all know there is a lot of changes, expectation, which is to be commented upon by the auditor and expectation of the Reserve Bank, and more particularly with respect to advances. And there are changes, which is a lot of revised clause which has been included in advances, and the selection of sample, the criteria for large advances has also been revised by Reserve Bank of India in the notification. We all know earlier it used to be 2 crores. We used to report 2 crores of all advances. That was an annexure was prepared by the branch. The branch used to give complete details of all accounts above 2 crores, or we used to verify if there are less than 2 crores, we used to verify minimum 5% of aggregate advance fund based. The change which is now happened as per the revised circular is all accounts in excess of 10 crores or 10% of the outstanding aggregate fund based and non-fund based year in advance of the branch. Kindly make a note of this, that it talks about 10% of outstanding aggregate fund based and non-fund based year in advance of the branch, whichever is less. So critical comments based on our review, based on the sample selected, has to be given for all advances for 10% and more with aggregate fund based and non-fund based year-end outstanding with more than 10% of the branch. Wherever there is an account in the branch for 10 crores and above, a specific format once again has been given by Reserve Bank of India, which would be prepared by the branch, will be available at the branch. You'll have to verify all the details of accounts in terms of advance outstanding above 10 crore. Wherever there is no account of 10 crore or above, 10% of the outstanding has to be covered and has to be commented upon. So specifically, RBI has mentioned that wherever the account above 10 crores, each specific details to be covered along with transactions to be verified for all the accounts above 10 crore. Wherever there are no accounts or below 10 crores account you have picked up as sample, comment has to be given on the process, which should be verified and to be commented upon by the auditors. So please check based on the list of advances, the balance, loan balance file or the jotting file, which is obtained when you visit at the branch, that which are the accounts above 10 crores. The format is completely filled by the branch, and below 10%, if there are below 10 crores, 10% has to be covered, outstanding aggregate fund based and non-fund based. Now, there is a very important section which the RBI has included in the revised LFR is whichever account you are picking up as a sample for whatever clause you are commenting upon in the section of advances, each such account has to be mentioned in the LFR. Till last year, जो भी sample, if we have picked up 10 sample, 20, 30, 40, we used to verify, and if you find there are no observation, we used to not give detail of that account in the LFR. So जितने भी हमारे advances के observations 20 में से 10 में observations आते थे, तो we used to give only 10 observations and 10 accounts details. But this year it is specifically mentioned by Reserve Bank that if you have picked up 20 sample has to be mentioned with account number, account name, balance at the year end, funded and non-funded balance, and the total. So for the purpose of tallying your 10%, your percentage examined against the total outstanding of the branch, the complete list of all the accounts which are examined for audit has to be specifically reported. So with this reporting, there is a possibility that when you comment on the revised clause, specific comments you are giving in any revised clause, you may have a sample for revised clause. So one sample you may have for one revised clause. So you may be picking up number of samples just to ensure that the clauses are being replied, are commented upon. If there is no quick mortality cases, you may obtain a management representation. But if there is a case of stock statement or a stock audit which is to be conducted, not conducted, you have to find out which are such accounts. So the moment you get the list, that list has to be covered in the list of accounts examined. Because when I say I have examined all these accounts, I have to mention that against each account, which clause I have covered. So now RBI is expecting us, there could be a sample which I have selected for advance, which I may cover 5 or 6 clauses. But there is a possibility कि मेरे 10 sample में 10 clause ही cover हों. So each clause you have to pick up 1 or 2, 3, 5 samples to confirm that there are no observations in those clauses, or whichever sample you have examined, you have not found any information or any observation. So kindly put this as an annexure along with the LFR. The list may go up to number of accounts and the percentage may go up to as high as 30 to 40%. Because when you reply to any specific clause, you have to pick up a sample which, when we go through the clauses, you'll find that RBI is expecting us to check each account for each clause, so that number of accounts are covered during the branch audit. So your branch audit now would need time. So proper planning, proper communication, proper selection of sample has to be done, so that the entire LFAR is completed, entire clauses are covered well on time and issued to the branch. Credit appraisal, there is no major change which is there in the credit appraisal in the first few slides. In the first slide which I have mentioned, of course, the branch has complied with procedures, instructions. We check when we visit if there is any applications, loans received. The auditor verify the documents, check the compliances as per the sanction, and if there are any deviations, we comment upon. We also verify in case of renewal, there is any review which is done of such advances, proper appraisal of document as per the guidelines of corporate office or as per the instructions received from controlling authority is obtained as per the nature of loan. An important line which is added here is the major shortcomings in credit appraisal to be reported. So RBI expect us that wherever there is a credit appraisal of a particular loan advance, a renewal of advance which is done, and you find any such major shortcomings. Shortcomings could be in terms of the unit not functioning properly. There is the short insurance of primary or collateral securities. Borrower has not complied with terms and conditions of sanction. There is diversion of fund. The end use is not being specifically mentioned. There is major difference in the audited financials and the projections. So major shortcomings in the appraisal now has to be specifically reported. So sample which you are picking up during the audit, if you find any major shortcomings in the annexure of LFAR where you report your observation, you have to specifically mention as per the annexure under this clause, major shortcoming in the appraisal is reported. So please check which are the major shortcomings as per the revised LFAR, as per the notification of the Reserve Bank, which covers the major shortcomings. Some of the instances I've already covered here. If there are any such shortcomings which is to be reported, should be covered under this clause. Legal documents as prescribed in the bank is being, as per the sanction, is being taken, executed. There is no change. In case of consortium arrangement, multiple banking arrangement, if there is any fresh sanction, ad hoc limit renewals, there is proper communication received from the consortium. We see there are consortium funding, there are consortium arrangements. Please check there is proper guidelines with respect to consortium advance. There is proper correspondence which is received by the branch from the lead bank. There is a DP which is communicated from the lead bank to the consortium banks for arriving at DP. So all this is available on record. If there is any deviation with the prescribed guidelines, should be reported. Quick mortality cases. This is a revised clause specifically has been added. I discussed in the list this which could be generated from the system. Wherever the account has slipped to NPA within 12 months of its introduction, should be reported as early mortality case. So kindly obtain any such list where there is a quick mortality case slipped into NPA or should have become NPA but not made NPA because of Supreme Court order. A detailed list has to be prepared giving the account number, the account name and balance at the year end. Kindly obtain the list. If there are no such case, please obtain in writing a confirmation from the branch in the MRL, the management representation, that there are no such case under quick mortality. Like I said, that the auditor would also be an IS auditor, has to do an audit in and around the system, lot of systems operationals to be verified, transactions to be verified. Again, a revised clause which is added here is the test check whether the interest rate is correctly fed into the system as per sanction letter. We have a sanction letter. Sanction letter में हम rate of interest check करते हैं based on MCLR or EBLR. Plus we have a pegging or a spread which is there, and plus an external credit rating not done, we have 0.5 or 1% additional rate charge. Kindly check whichever sample you have picked up, the correct interest rate is fed into the system. If you are checking 10 accounts, please check the master data of 10 accounts. Check the sanction letter, how it, what is the rate as per sanction and what is fed into the system. If there is any maker checker changes in the master, if the entering person is different and checking person is different as per the guidelines of head office instructions in this regard. So your test check gives you observation where two instances rate of interest is not correctly being fed into the system, has to be reported under this clause. Check MCLR, EBLR is updated. Initially, bank had a system of base rate, which was then changed to MCLR. Then subsequently in October 2019 has changed to external benchmarking lending rate. So please check the bank to bank. It may vary certain percentage, but wherever there is updation centrally in the system is updated, you may obtain the list of all changes in EBLR or MCLR which is done during the year, on which all dates there are changes in the rates can be obtained from the branch. So please check wherever there are changes, the test check of your account which you have done for verification of interest rate would confirm the rate of interest is updated regularly in the system. Next is wherever there is frequent renewal rollover of short-term loans, check whether necessary documents have been obtained. So we know there is renewal or rollover of short-term or the ad hoc limit which is given. Now any account CC which is overdrawn, the bank branch has a practice of giving an ad hoc limit or a short-term loan. So please check if any such account where short-term loan or ad hoc limit is given for 90 days and further extended for a period of 90 days. So if there is such case, necessary documents is obtained at the time of rollover or renewal. If any irregularity is noticed, should be reported under this clause. External credit rating, we've already discussed that we have to obtain the list of all borrowers with an exposure of 5 crores and above, where the external credit rating as per the RBI circular is mandatory. You have a list, check credit rating is obtained from RBI accredited agencies, is updated in the system. If it is not updated, credit rating is obtained, not updated, would have a bank branch is carrying a higher risk. There is an additional rate which is to be charged. So if there are cases where external credit rating is not taken, should be reported. If taken, not updated in the system, should also be updated or reported that there are cases which is not updated and additional rate has been charged, which the bank is carrying a risk of charging high rate of interest. Sanctioning disbursement, the next clause, no change in the credit facility as per the is sanctioned as per the delegated authority or the limit fixed for that particular branch. We check what is the limit fixed of sanction for that particular branch. If there is any deviation or any excess or any bypass of delegated authority, is promptly reported to the higher authorities. Advances disbursed without complying with terms and conditions of sanction letter, we know there is a requirement that these are the certain set of documents to be obtained before the money is disbursed. If there is any non-compliance of the terms and conditions of the sanction letters, like non-creation of equitable mortgage on property, personal guarantees of directors, funds which borrower has to be brought into the his own funds, unit not inspected, end use of funds not verified. So there are certain instances I've just highlighted. You can check based on these sanctions as per the terms and conditions and report deviation. One specific clause which is added in the revised LFR is give the list of loans to companies for buyback if is given for buyback of shares or securities. So as an auditor, I would not be able to verify कि ब्रांच ने जो लोन दिया है किसी पर्टिकुलर बोरोअर को वो बायबैक ऑफ शेयर्स या सिक्योरिटीज के लिए तो नहीं दिया. So please ensure based on your sample, if you find any such instance where the end use of fund there is a buyback of shares or securities, or the bank has obtained a confirmation from the borrower that the loan extended is for buyback or not for buyback of shares or securities is available on record. Check any such loan which is there. If there are no such loan, if there are no such loan which is given or you are not able to verify at the branch level, kindly obtain a management representation specifically mentioning that no such buyback of shares or securities is done by the borrower against the loan sanctioned by the branch. Documentation, these are standard clause. There is no change in any of the documents clause. Any deviation in execution of documents, we report under this clause. Custody of documents, nature of documents defect, if any, has to be reported under this clause. Report of deficiencies, I'm not discussing as this is not a clause which is revised this time. So these are standard clause already covered. Lien marked against fixed deposit loan. If it is not marked against the FDR or is not marked in favor of bank, kindly check the instances you observe based on your sample selection. Also check if there are any matured FDRs which are available with adequate margin and corresponding loan is available, is not adjusted. Kindly report under this clause that there is a matured FDR and also loan which could have been adjusted against each other is still appearing in the branch books. Next is the review, monitoring and supervision. No change in the initial clauses, the procedures laid down by the head office or the bank for renewal or review of the accounts, the timely deviations, if any, their account has to be reviewed within 180 days from the date of expire of the previous sanction. Kindly check what are the guidelines if such accounts are listed down from the reports generated from the system, not renewed or reviewed within 6 months or up to 180 days should be reported, and as per IRAC norms should have been classified as NPA. Kindly check if any such account should be covered under this clause. Check, now this is an important clause which we have been covering in various clauses of review, monitoring and reporting as part of the annexure as LFR, but now there is a specific requirement of RBI to report, which is stock statement received regularly and same are duly scrutinized for the purpose of calculating DP. So we know there is a DP register which is available at the branch. There is a DP which is calculated at the branch regularly. So kindly check based on the stock statement received, DP is regularly calculated as per the register and is fed into the system. If there is any deviation in the stock statement submitted on the stocks which are reported with the latest audited financial statements, kindly recalculate the drawing power. Any such cases which you find deviations with your based on your calculation, drawing power should be reduced. So there is a specific reporting requirement by Reserve Bank that wherever there is DP calculated properly, kindly scrutinize it. If there are 1 or 2 cases or 5 cases where DP is incorrect, where you want the account should have downgraded or based on your calculation has become overdue or overdrawn, should be reported under this clause of LFR. Interest, penal interest in case of delayed submission of stock statement, overdrawn, is charged by the system. There is no change in this clause. Another important clause which is being specifically asked is obtaining stock audit report periodically in all cases as per the bank policy. Now, there may be a different policy which the bank is following. As per the RBI, any account above 5 crores stock audit is to be carried out periodically. But there are a couple of banks where they have even decided a limit of 3 crores where the stock audit needs to be carried out. Kindly check what is the bank policy for obtaining the stock audit report or carrying out the stock audit report. Details to be verified in terms of if there is any account where stock audit was required to be done but has not been conducted, should be specifically reported that these are the accounts as per the bank policy where stock audit is not done, not conducted, you have to report. Second, where there is stock audit which was conducted but no action was taken on the adverse features. You may have a stock audit adverse features reported by among us being stock auditors but has not been complied with by the branch up to 31st March 2021. So kindly check if there are deficiencies in the report which is reported, not been rectified and is pending. Auditor has to give details of all such pending issues under this clause. Another clause where we have been discussing for so many years is the audited financial statements received in case of non-corporate entities as per RBI guidelines. Now, the limit still remains the same, that above 10 lakhs for non-corporate entities, RBI still expect us as an auditor to verify and ensure that latest audited accounts are available on record. If you have any such case, deviations to be reported. So there is no change under this clause, and if there is any deviation, has to be reported. Another revised clause which is implemented is in terms of consortium and multiple banking. Now, this clause specifically asks you to obtain a due diligence report or a certificate in the form and manner as required by RBI in respect of advances. So if any advance given by under a consortium or multiple bank arrangement, a due diligence report or a certificate in the format is to be obtained from a lead bank. So if you are doing an audit where a loan is funded against consortium or there is a multiple banking arrangements, please confirm who is carrying out or who has carried out the due diligence as per the required format of RBI. Kindly ensure that this due diligence report is available. Obtain the list of such accounts from the branch. If the list, based on the list, verify wherever due diligence report is not received, certificate not received, should be specifically reported that is not available or not obtained and is not available on record. So please obtain the due diligence in terms of consortium, multiple banking, specifically the due diligence certificate and the report. Another very important clause which was being reported earlier but now has been specifically asked by Reserve Bank is the inspection or physical verification of securities. Now we know that there is a requirement of valuation of securities which is to be done once in 3 years. You should not have a security valuation older than 3 years. A regular inspection or verification of security is being carried out at regular intervals by the branch. Based on the inspection, RBI now expects the auditors to verify whether there is any substantial deterioration in the value of security during financial year as per the latest. So if you have a latest valuation report which is 1 year old or 2 year old, kindly check what is the value in the valuation report based on the advance which is given or disbursed by the branch. If the coverage or the based on your understanding there is a substantial deterioration in the value of security, kindly obtain the list from the branch, verify the valuation. Any substantial deterioration should be reported under this clause. Now, further, you should verify in case of NPA accounts, since this year specifically, as per the order of Supreme Court, we are not classifying any account as NPA, but up to 29th February 2020, obtain the list of all such NPA accounts, verify the security which is available against these NPA account. Kindly specifically check the security or the value has substantially deteriorated. If there is any substantial deterioration in case of NPA accounts in the value of security or is older than 3 years, kindly downgrade further those accounts which are NPA prior to 29 February. So an account may shift from D1 to D2 or may go to D3 or can also become a loss asset. So kindly check the verification process. What is the guidelines? Whether security has been physically verified, inspected at regular intervals, and based on verification of valuation report, if you find there is any substantial deterioration in the value of security during the year, based on the report, should be commented upon and further downgrade the account if already classified as NPA. In case of the auditor comes across any deficiency in value of securities, overdrawings, inadequate insurance, same has to be commented upon, no change. Whether there is charge which is registered with registrar of companies, in case of companies need to verify, the search report which is available on record can be verified, and the unauthorized overdrawing, inadequate insurance cover, if any, should be commented upon by the auditor. Now, very important revised clause which has been now incorporated by Reserve Bank is with respect to the red flagged accounts, the RFA account which they call. Now, this is the circular of 7th May 2015, which I already shared, to which where you have to identify, or you may be able to identify an account with early warning signals. Now, early warning signals accounts are those accounts where there is suspicion of fraudulent activities going on. Based on your review of transactions into the account, based on the verification of documents, you may have one or more early warning signals, or as per the circular, the list of 45 items which I have already shared is available in the circular, may lead to an early warning signal. As per the RBI circular, all accounts above 50 crores are to be reported under red flag account. If you do not have any such account with your branch, reporting may not be required, or sometimes even the bank has a lesser limit fixed for RFA. You may have a limit fixed to 5 crores or 10 crores for an RFA account. Kindly check what is the bank policy for identifying an account as RFA. If it's as per the RBI circular, the limit is 50 crores and above. In that case, you'll have to identify any deficiency or any suspicion of fraudulent activity based on your sample selected. You may have to identify the account as early warning signal, report under this clause to the management or to the central statutory auditors that there is a fraudulent activity in the following accounts, or there is early warning signals based on your verification of documents which may get into an account as fraud. So please, specific requirement of reporting an account under early warning signal has been asked by Reserve Bank. RFA you may not have as per the RBI circular, but as per the policy, kindly check if RFA needs to be reported for accounts above a certain limit as per bank policy should be covered under this clause. Examine adverse features considered significant in top 5 large advance. There is a specific requirement now that top 5 large advance, in case you do not have any account of 10 crores as per the requirement of this circular of LFAR, if you do not have any account, kindly check which are the top 5 large advance, have the accounts examined, whatever the adverse Features which are considered significant should be reported. Review the bank policy. Any deviations observed should be reported under this revised clause. This is an important clause entirely which is added this time is clause 5F, which talks about asset classification, provisioning of advances, and resolution of stressed assets. There is asset classification. We know we identify and classify advances into substandard, doubtful loss asset, and standard. Now, as per the RBI circular of 14th September 2020, kindly make a note, as per the RBI circular of 14th September, all bank by 30th June 2021, not on 31st March 21, but by June, these 30th June 2021 has to have an automated system of classifying an asset and making provision on substandard, doubtful, and loss asset. So complete system will become automated by 30th June. Effective 1st of July 2021, you will not have, as per the RBI circular, a single account which is not being classified as NPA through CBS. Currently, we have separate reports which are not integrated with CBS. Like, for example, State Bank of India, we have a CBS where NPA is carried out, but there is a report called CCDP where we classify the account as substandard, doubtful, and loss asset, and also make provision based on the classification. So finally, the consolidation of the asset provisioning and classification is done for bank as a whole through CCDP. So still the integration is not done in few banks, but effective 1st of July 21, as per the RBI circular, no bank would continue to do NPA classification outside CBS. So every classification has to be then carried out through CBS. Kindly check at the branch level what the branch has identified and classified advances through automated system. If not, kindly mention this particular circular of Reserve Bank that the same has been done in a separate report as CCDP or any other such report with respect to your bank or branch which you are undertaking, and mention the circular of 14 November that would be done by 30th June. Verify whether branch is following a system of classifying account into SMA 0, 1, and 2. So we know we get a report from the system which says SMA 0, SMA 1, and SMA 2. SMA 0 special mention account which are classified as 0 from 1st to 30th. From 31 to 60 is SMA 1. From 61 to 90 is SMA 2. So till last year, we were obtaining the list and just verifying that the accounts are being classified and has been reported in SMAs 0, 1, 2. But this time there is a specific requirement by Reserve Bank that you need to verify and confirm that any disagreement which you have observed while verifying the report, that the account should have been from 0, it should be 1, or from 1, it should be 2. Any disagreement with the branch has to be specifically commented upon. So kindly obtain the list of all such accounts, verify them, check the classification based on your verification. If there is any disagreement, should be commented upon under this clause. Next clause revises in respect to accounts outstanding in excess of 10 crores. This is specific requirements or outstanding in excess of 10 crores, which have either been downgraded or upgraded with regard to their classification as NPA. Now we know this year no such accounts are downgraded as per the IRAC norms or as per the RBI circulars issued for COVID-19 regulatory packages and the Supreme Court order. But any such account with an outstanding in excess of 10 crores, if it's upgraded during the year, kindly check particularly the upgradation with respect to the entire amount received. the entire principal and interest is received in the account for upgradation. So any account where the outstanding was for 6 months or for a year, but only amount is received for 3 months or 6 months, cannot be upgraded, should be upgraded when the entire outstanding or an entire overdue is serviced by the borrower. So please check specifically in case of outstanding in excess of 10 crores and above. In case the branch has followed the RBI guidelines for restructuring of accounts in respect of special package which is given this year, there is regulatory packages which are given. Each account where moratorium or deferment is permitted is treated as a restructured standard account. We know if an account is restructured, if would have been a normal scenario, the IRAC norms ask the bank to downgrade the account. So the moment we restructure the account is to be downgraded. But based on special package for restructuring permitted due to COVID-19, kindly obtain all such accounts which are restructured, still continued, is downgraded as per the RBI circular and is reported to the controlling authority. So every month reporting has been done to the controlling authority. And if there is any deviation in reporting to the controlling authority, any such account which is not reported should be commented upon under this clause. Another revised clause is in respect to the resolution of stressed assets. There is a compliance with the board approved policy in this regard. So these are accounts which there was a special resolution package which was there, resolution of stressed asset. There was a circular in February 2020 for again extending such accounts with exposure over 2000 crore. So any such account, if particular branch has with an exposure of 2000 crore and above and is not being reported in the under SMA category for more than 180 days. So kindly check the report in case the accounts are under SMA category for more than 180 days has to be specifically reported upon. So there is a circular 12th February 2020 for resolution of all such stressed account. There was a forbearance which was given by Reserve Bank of India. The extension has been provided due to COVID. So if you have any such account with exposure above 200 crores and is still under SMA for more than 180 days, kindly report under this clause. Also check prompt reporting under Central Repository of Information on Large Credit. CRILIC report is obtained. The branch regularly report within 15 days from the end of each quarter. So please check. There is a reporting which is promptly done by the branch to CRILIC, and any delay in reporting should be viewed seriously and reported. We know CRILIC report, any bank can log in and verify the entire details of the borrower with certain exposure and above. So kindly check that if there is any such account which is under SMA for 180 days and more, proper reporting under CRILIC is done within 15 days from the end of the quarter. Any such account appearing should be viewed seriously and reported. Deviation, any delay should be reported under this clause. Upgradation in non-performing advances we've discussed, but there is now a specific requirement. We discussed about 10 crores and in excess of accounts which are upgraded. Another clause which has been specifically asked to report is any upgradation in non-performing advance is in line with the norms of Reserve Bank. So any 10 crores and above to be specifically reported. Any upgradation below 10 crores also, if there are any done, the entire overdue is recovered and upgradation is permitted only when entire overdue is recovered. So kindly check if the upgradation is done without recovering the entire overdue. Report any such account which was not to be permitted to be upgraded but has been upgraded. To verify process under IBC, the Insolvency Bankruptcy Code, if you have any such account where the branch has to initiate IBC or is mandated to initiate IBC but has not done. So kindly check such account if IBC was to be initiated, any account where financial creditors have initiated IBC but has not been responded or done by the branch should be commented upon specifically under this clause. Adequacy of provision in the account should also be commented under this clause. Already discussed for the financial year 2020-21, there is a forbearance which is given by Reserve Bank of India that it is not to be done for this year as per the circular of RBI due to special package under regulatory packages issued time to time by Reserve Bank. So this clause for the particular financial year 2021, you may not have any such case where IBC is to be initiated but has not been initiated. So kindly put reference of the RBI circular that this is not applicable in case you have any IBC account which was to be initiated but not done, that it is not to be done because of forbearance permitted by Reserve Bank. Next revised clauses in terms of the ECGC credit, all borrowers which are into export, there is an export credit guarantee council where the insurance claim we file against the recovery. So if there are any claims which have been properly lodged and are settled, so kindly check if there is any claims which are available in particular borrower has to be reported specifically in this format, which I have already shared in the screen. There is a specific requirement in the revised clause. Claims at the beginning of the year, that is 1/4/2020, any further claim lodged during the year, then any claims accepted, settled, wherever there is an NPA account, any insurance claim which is settled should be credited to that NPA account, and further provisioning after adjusting this ECGC insurance claim is done. Claims rejected, if those are rejected, then adequately provision has been increased, total and balance at the year end. So there is a specific reporting requirement for all exports borrowers where ECGC claims have been lodged and settled during the year. Again, two clauses where there are no changes. NP accounts where outstanding is more than 1 crore. We know valuation is to be obtained in case of NPA. The reports are available and are not older than 3 years. So please check if there is any valuation which is older than 3 years. Substantial deterioration in the value should be done and should be reported at a respective clause we've already discussed. Further classification from D1 to D2 or D3 or even loss asset needs to be done in case the valuation is older than 3 years, as the value of security may have come down less than 50% or even for that matter less than 10% to classify it as a loss asset. Any compromise settlement write-offs which are done in excess of 50 lakhs, obtain list of such cases. If you do not have any case at the branch, kindly obtain in management representation letter, confirm from the branch that there are no case, verify the policy of the bank with respect to compromise settlement and write-off, and whether the same has been followed by the branch. In case of decrees which are pending, kindly check branch is prompt in ensuring execution of such decrees for obtaining the recovery from the defaulting borrowers. Now, there are HO guidelines specifically received. If there is any decree which is pending at the branch and recovery is done, should be adjusted and obtained for recovery from the defaulting borrowers. There is a specific requirement this year is age-wise analysis of all such decrees obtained and pending as execution has to be given. So kindly obtain age-wise analysis for 1 year, more than a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years has to be given in a specific format as an annexure with LFAR for whatever decrees which are pending. Verified cases concluded the recovery have been properly appropriated against the principal and interest. Check the bank policy. The bank policy may differ in terms of adjusting the account to principal or to the interest. So whatever the closing instructions which are received from the bank, kindly check wherever there are recoveries made has been properly appropriated. If is not being followed, the same is appropriated through MOC. In case documents are held at centralized processing centers, whether auditor has received those documents based on your test check and you have satisfied, report the exceptions. We know there are branches in State Bank, we have SME CC, in other banks we have RA, CPC, we have SME hubs, where these are centralized processing centers where the documents are kept. Monitoring is done by the respective branch, but to verify those documents, kindly make a list of which all accounts, borrowers you need to verify. Give the list to the branch to provide you documents or arrange for the visit at the respective branch and confirm whether the documents are complied in terms of the terms and conditions of sanction and you have satisfied. If there are any exceptions which needs to be reported, should be reported under this clause. Non-fund based facilities, there is no change. Outstanding amounts of guarantees invoked and funded by the branch at the year end to be obtained and should be reported. So a specific format which is already been shared and is part of the LFR in terms of the invocation date, the party name, the beneficiary, and the recovery. In terms of the next is, while reporting these cases, auditor to verify whether after considering the above funds as part of principal operating account, the facilities become NPA. So kindly check if there is any invocation of guarantee or any devolvement of LCs which has been debited to the respective borrower, and because of debiting, the overdrawn in the account is observed, the account should be classified as NPA based on the IRAC norms and MOC to be issued. But we've already discussed, based on the circular of Reserve Bank of 3rd September, it has to be reported under this clause, but not becoming NPA because of RBI circular of 3rd September. Auditor to specifically check if there are any interchangeability between fund-based and non-fund based facilities. Kindly check if there are any devolvement of LCs, any invocation of BGs, which are debited to the respective borrower account. And further, again, the bank has sanctioned an interchangeability between the CC and LCBG. The bank may have shifted the overdrawn balance again to LC or the BG. So kindly check any such case where the interchangeability is permitted, was allowed subsequent to devolvement. If there are any cases, kindly report under this clause. Suspense account, Sundry suspense, there is no change. Old debit entries, one asset account reversed by debiting another asset account. So kindly check any such entries which were pending was cleared just before the year end, maybe by debiting another asset account with a new date. So that reporting date may change from more than 6 months or 3 months to a latest date, which may be older than 7 days or 15 days. So kindly check any such entries which has been done under suspense or sundry asset account. Procedure of clearance of entries in the suspense sundry accounts. If this inadequate of entries are outstanding beyond the prescribed time, comment accordingly. So any entries more than 90 days, any debit entries more than 90 days or 180 days have to be provided for. If it's more than 180 days, specific requirement of Reserve Bank of India that any such entries more than 90 days in suspense account should be specifically reported with list and reasons for pendency. Liabilities, no change. I would quickly just discuss the deposit part. Inoperative accounts, we have to check the operations, if any permitted in the inoperative accounts. There is a request letter received signed by the customer for activation of such account. If any unusual large movements in aggregate deposit accounts after the balance sheet date, kindly obtain the GL 1 week before the year end and the GL of 31st, and then on 5th or 6th when you visit. Kindly check if there are any unusual large movements in these deposits account after the balance sheet date. If there are any accounts, CC account where limit was available, the bank has debited huge amount with CC and corresponding deposits have been created. So kindly check, obtain clarification in writing why there was unusual large movements of deposits and comment at the relevant section of the LFR. TDS with respect to the interest has been accrued, booked, and timely paid. If there is any delay, any deviation has to be reported. New clause which is added is the renewal of FCNRB. Now, if the branch is holding any FCNRB accounts, verify the bank policy for renewal of such accounts and parameters for automatic renewal. If there are any deviations in the documents in the policy of the bank not followed at the branch should be commented upon. What is the policy of printing and dispatch of original receipts and control over them? Verify, test check that cases to form an opinion that it is effectively followed, the process is effectively working. Complying with regulations on minimum balance requirement, there is a charge which we know for non-maintenance of minimum balance in the individual saving bank accounts. Kindly check if they are below the minimum balance on your test check is being charged with non-maintenance of balance. Few samples may be verified to ensure that levy is fair and as per the policy. Bills payable sundry deposits, no change except the format which has been implemented this time. There's a specific age-wise analysis or details has to be given. Old outstanding items pending for 1 year or more in bills payable sundry deposits. RBI has asked to give details year-wise, number of items, amounts, and reasons why they are old, lying more than 1 year. So there is a specific requirement in the format which has to be given. Any material withdrawals or debits in these accounts, any unusual transaction should be reported. Contingent liabilities, there is no change in the reporting requirement of contingent liabilities. Any such claims which are pending, not acknowledged by the bank as debts, kindly check. All these are reported under the contingent liability as of the year end. If any such liability where the bank loss is clear is identified and not disputed, kindly make a provision through MOC or take a management representation that all contingent liability has been disclosed up to 31st March and there is no provision further to be made on any such liability. Profit and loss account, there is no revision in any of the clauses. We verify the system of finding out the discrepancies in interest and discount and timely adjustments have to be seen as per the prescribed guidelines. Verify the concurrent audit, internal inspection audit, income and expenditure audit reports to confirm any observations which are pending with respect to booking of interest, rate of interest, discount, commissions which are not being accounted for, or a revenue leakage should be passed through an MOC if not done up to 31st March. Verify NPA provisioning as per the IRAC norms. We have already discussed any account after 1st September 2020. IRAC norms says the account should have been classified as NPA, but because of Supreme Court order, income would be recognized only on receipt basis. So kindly check the income recognition on all such accounts where the receipt is not made in terms of interest which is debited after 1st September. Interest on deposits to be verified and any short or excess debit of material amounts to be reported. Another important clause which is there in terms of interest on matured or overdue deposit. Now, as per the RBI circular, all matured deposits or overdue deposits, a saving bank interest has to be charged, which is done at central office. At the branch, we need to obtain the list of such matured overdue deposit. Kindly write in the LFAR that the saving bank interest, as per the RBI circular of March 3rd, 2016, updated in February 22nd, 2019, that interest would be charged at saving bank rate of interest, which is done at head office. You may have matured FDRs. Currently, the bank has a system of renewing FDR within 15 days of the date of maturity. But there are certain schemes FDR or old FDR which are still outside CBS. So kindly obtain list of such matured term deposits overdues and report in the LFAR along with comment that saving bank interest should be debited, should be charged. Do a comparative study of all major and income and expenditure we do. Pick up the previous year profit and loss account and the current year, do an analysis of all the income and expenses heads. Wherever there are major deviations, give a letter in writing to the branch, obtain reasons for these deviations, and if needs to be reported, should be reported in the LFAR. This is again important, and a new revised clause which is added in terms of gold, bullion, and security items. Whether the branch holds gold or bullion, there is a system to ensure joint custody of two or more officials. Now we have to verify the instructions of the controlling authority of bank, and if this is not under the joint custody of two or more officials, or is not opened, the vault is not opened in joint custody, exceptions to be reported under this clause. Verify whether branch has an adequate internal control systems in respect of receipt, issues, and balance of gold bullion and is updated regularly. Any discrepancies which is noted and is reported to the controlling authority should be obtained, and if there is any delay in reporting, should be reported. So kindly check that there is a process, guidelines, or a bank policy on the system of custody of dual custody of gold and bullion is in effective joint custody, and there is an adequate record for issue, receipts, balances of gold bullion and is updated regularly. In terms of term deposit receipts, drafts, pay orders, check bank has an adequate internal control system over its issue and custody. If there are any weaknesses in the internal control system or the auditor finds is not adequate, any exception or your observation should be commented upon. Books and records, there is number of revised clauses which have been added. First, very important is auditor should check whether there is any software systems used at the branch which are not integrated. We have already discussed, as an example of State Bank of India, that there is a CBS and there is CCDP which has been separately used for the purpose of classification and provisioning. So any such reporting which is not integrated with the CBS, the software needs to be reviewed and has an impact on financial statements should be reported upon. If the branch is under IS audit, verify the IS audit report any such major shortcomings, discrepancies which are pending, adverse features which are reported by the IS auditors which has direct or indirect impact on the accounts of the branch should be complied with before 31st. If not done, same should be repeated. Check the process of generating and verifying the exception reports. If the bank, as per the prescribed procedures, is generating exception reports regularly and is available on record, there is a system at the branch that each day exception reports are generated. As an auditor, we need to check last 15 days exception reports, what are the entries which are appearing in these exception reports, whether any compliance which was to be done by the branch within a certain period of time has been done or not done. Any major observations pending in the exception reports should be reported. Any such compliance not done by the branch at the year end should be reported under this clause. Then the bank has a laid down procedures for manual intervention to system generated reports. We discussed that there is a maker checker concept which is to be verified at various levels at the branch at the time of interest, whether it has been fed correctly in the system. There is a maker checker concept. Any such changes which are done in the master data, there is a maker checker concept which is being followed. Kindly check what are the procedures for manual intervention to the system generated report. There are still reports which are generated manually. There is proper authentication of the related transactions, and there is a proper audit trail which is available for manual intervention. So kindly check if there are any changes which is done in the data. There is an exception reports generated. There is an audit trail which is available. Any such intervention done, there is a process at the branch where you can verify the reports, obtain such manual intervention reports through the exception report, and comment observations or deviations under this respective clause. Data integrity, if the auditor has to verify whether the data integrity in terms of the entering of data in the system is authentic, as the same is used for MIS and reporting to head office or to the controlling authority. So like I said initially in my deliberation, that as an IS auditor also, there are certain clause which specifically needs to be verified as an IS auditor. These are some of the clause where you have to confirm that you have verified the IS audit reports. If IS audit is not done, which are the manual interventions done in the system, what are the exceptions which are generated, what is the audit trail which is available, what is the process of reporting to the head office or the controlling authority in terms of MIS. If there are data integrity weaknesses in the system, is checked and commented upon by the auditor. So there is an IS audit points also which has to be verified at certain levels under this clause. So kindly check thoroughly the system. As I said that the audit entirely is to be done in and around system. You have to check the transactions, you have to check the operations in the system, but kindly check whatever data is fed, because garbage in, garbage out. So any data which is entered incorrectly may give out incorrect data. So data integrity has to be commented upon in terms of entry, checking of correctness, and any ended entries have been done which are used for MIS purpose should be reported upon. Inter-branch accounts, we've been verifying that any such unresponded or uncomplied queries at the inter-branch accounts, if there are any reconciliations, usually now all branches and the head office are in CBS. So there are reconciliations issues because we see a debit, a core banking account or a credit core banking account. So it is confirmed to us that it has been taken care centrally. But kindly check if there are any such entries which are unresponded, uncomplied based on your reports generated through the system beyond 7 days has to be communicated specifically under this clause. So please obtain any such unresponded, uncomplied queries or communications beyond 7 days which are not attended and to be reported. And if there are entries where debit or has to be made or passed into the particular account is done or is done through an MOC. Fraud again is very important clause which is specifically asked by the Reserve Bank, that obtain a list of fraud. If there is a fraud which is done at the branch or discovered during the year should be obtained, and suggestions, if any, to minimize the possibility has to be given. So kindly obtain list of such frauds which are discovered during the year. If there are no frauds which are discovered, kindly obtain in writing a confirmation from the branch saying that no frauds reported during the year. If there is any suspected or likely frauds, like we have discussed in our earlier section, that there is suspicion of transactions where it gives you an early warning signal, or if it classifies an account as red flag account, may further lead to an account as fraud. So any such early warning signal where you see that you is suspected or may become a fraud in future should be specifically reported here to the higher authorities, or to the management, or to the audit committee if the fraud is likely to be taken or to be likely to happen. Some of the potential risk areas, early warning signals, I've already shared that there's a list of 45 items you can verify, but certain frauds in terms of falsification of accounts, false representation by the borrower, misappropriation of funds, debtors, creditors, fabrication. So all these are, cases already have led to fraud, and you can refer the RBI master circular of 1st July 15 on willful defaulters, and an RBI master direction of 1st of July 2016, which was further updated on 3rd July 2017 on fraud reporting and classification. So kindly check. There's a specific requirement and reporting which is asked by RBI in the respective revised clause, that if discovered during the year has to be reported along with suggestion. If there is a likely possibility of any fraud being suspected, should be checked thoroughly in terms of early warning signals account, the reporting of the fraudulent activity based on the early warning signals list, and the account could have or would become a fraud account should be reported. In terms of implementation of KYC AML guidelines, check whether there is an adequate system. In terms of KYC, kindly pick up few samples to verify the KYC compliances have been carried out. There is enough documentation as per the requirement policy of the bank is taken on record. Also check the concurrent audit reports for KYC compliances. In terms of AML, you can obtain the list of cash transaction, the CTR, the cash transaction report, or the suspicious transaction report from the branch. This would give you an idea of whatever cash transactions been carried out at the branch on daily basis, which may lead to money laundering and terrorist financing. So kindly check the guidelines of AML and also obtain reports of cash transaction and suspicious transactions to confirm. Even exception reports, which is generated daily, can be verified to confirm there are cash transactions which are carried out in particular accounts in terms of AML guidelines on test check basis. And if there are any such suspicions of monetary activity at the branch, kindly comment upon under this clause. MIS, what is the system process to ensure data integrity? There's a separate reporting requirement of MIS relating to data inputs which are used for MIS at corporate office. Check whether branch has a proper system and procedures to ensure data integrity. Also check the maker concept, the maker checker we've already discussed. The maker checker concept needs to be verified. If it is missing as per the process and guidelines of head office, kindly report the deviations. You can also verify the IS audit report for any such exceptions or adverse features which are reported, to report under this clause. Certain adverse comments which are reported under various reports or audits which are undertaken at the branch. You can have the previous audit reports, the credit audit report, the stock audit report, and various other inspection audits which are carried out at the branch to confirm what are the major adverse comments which are still not complied up to 31st March, which needs to be reported under respective clause of LFAR. So kindly go through such reports, obtain a confirmation that all these compliances have been done on and before 31st March. If there are non-complied observation, should be reported under respective clause. Any other matter which the management or the auditor wants to report to the management or to the central statutory auditors should be reported under the miscellaneous clause. So this was with respect to the branches where a normal branch LFAR, including all revised clauses, the new changes which has happened under this clauses have all been covered. Wherever there is a requirement of Reserve Bank that each clause should be commented upon based on your sample, your transaction verification, verification of the operation of the account should be specifically commented upon. Kindly ensure that you make a list of all the advances verified, fund-based and non-fund-based as per the reporting requirement, which is examined by you at the branch. All accounts should have a reference in the respective clause that why you have picked up this sample. Each sample would be covered under a respective clause as an observation. So kindly ensure your sample is adequate. Minimum requirement is 10% for fund-based, non-fund-based together, but your sample is enough to cover all the clauses. I would also further suggest all the branch auditors to kindly make a checklist of advances of while covering all these clauses of reporting requirement, including the revised clause. This would help you that whatever sample 20, 25, 30 you have picked up covers at least one sample covers in one clause, so that entire clause of LFAR is covered in the 30 samples you have picked up. There should not be any clause which is left blank, or you say that no such case observed during the course of audit, because there is a specific requirement by RBI. If there is no such case, then it should be confirmed by the branch that there are no case. We cannot just write no such case. Kindly obtain a management representation or check through the system that there are, or generate a report from the system that there are no such case where the reporting needs to be done under revised clause. These are clauses for branches dealing in foreign exchange transactions. There are no change. Wherever if there is any branch where you have to report in terms of foreign exchange transactions, kindly go through the concurrent audit reports, internal auditors and other RBI inspection reports for any deviations or pending observation has to be commented upon under this clause. Instructions to and guidelines of the controlling authority in relation of foreign exchange. Notes to accounts, I'm not going in those details because there is no revision in any of the clauses. If you have a forex branch, the same needs to be checked. Notes to accounts, if those accounts which are maintained outside India, where we have a branch has a balance in another bank which is outside India. So there is a specific requirements of nostro which is and has been added under the revised clauses. Kindly check if any such accounts have become dormant. Now, if there is any account which is closed or become dormant, is a nostro account, and the balance continue to exist in the books, kindly confirm if the balances are appearing over a period of time. The same needs to be converted at the exchange rate at the year end as per the guidelines prescribed by controlling authority. So kindly check if you have a forex branch, there is a nostro balance, it is an old balance, should be reinstated or converted at the year end at the rate of exchange which is applicable to that country and should be accounted for on 31st March 21. We need to verify whether account is regularly operated. If not, the list of such accounts with the balance and since when is not being operated has to be reported under this clause. Branches dealing in service branches. If any of you are appointed for auditors of service branches, there is no change in any of the clauses. As you can see from the screen, periodic review of outstanding entries to be done, verify if prescribed system of review and follow-up is being adhered to. So I'm not going in detail of explaining each clause, as there is no change. Asset recovery management branches, the AR&B branches, some of you may be allotted the SAM branch or the asset recovery management branch. Check in terms of the advances above 10 crore. You may have advances with a balance outstanding of 10 crores and above. Kindly obtain the list of such advances. Comment on the adverse features which might need attention of the management or central statutory auditors. You may have a concurrent audit being done in this asset recovery management branch or any other credit audit which is carried out. Kindly comment on the adverse features. Your observations based on your review of all these accounts of 10 crores and above is commented upon wherever it needs attention of the management and statutory auditors. List of accounts which are upgraded from NPA, we have discussed. If there is any such account, kindly check the reasons of upgradation and comment upon for recovery. If there is an upgradation of NPA with complete recovery done in the account, kindly check the principal and interest recovered, giving details of all such account is being reclassified as per the format given under this clause. Auditor to verify and comment whether there is a system of periodical obtention and updation. Valuation of security, we check in case of AR&B also. Like in case of branch, AR&B also, NP accounts, valuation more than 3 years will not be considered and should be treated as, the value should be taken as zero. So kindly check the valuation is taken regularly and is updated in the system. If there are any such old valuation which is available and more than 3 years, needs to be commented upon and MOC to be issued. Age-wise analysis, again, there's a specific requirement in the revised clause for any such suit file cases which are pending has to be given for last 3 years. So kindly check the pending cases which are suit file cases pending recovery from last 3 years along with their status has to be given under this clause in the specific format. So please obtain list of all such cases where recovery suit is filed and is pending for 3 years with the status to be given. Decrees obtained branches, if any not should be reported. List of cases that time barred, there are decrees which is time barred, same should be reported. How old is there with the details of age-wise analysis for how old the decree is time barred has to be reported under this clause. Then there are no change in terms of recovery in the NP accounts. What is the policy of revenue recognition in terms of RBI guidelines? Bank follow a process of adjusting the principal and the interest. Kindly check as per the bank or the RBI guidelines has been followed. In case of new account which are transferred during the year, kindly check all the documents are received from the respective branch. Obtain confirmation that no documents are pending, is the same is available with the branch. Any adverse features during the transfer of the account from one branch to another to the AR&B branch is received and is covered under the respective section of the LFR. Then there is a clause of branch, corporate branch, IFB branches of 100 crores and above. There is no change. So I'm not discussing this. All has to be seen. Adverse features, non-operative for a quite has to be reported. So this is entirely the section of the LFR, including the revised clauses which will be applicable for the audit of 2021 and onwards. I've already shared the revised format of LFR in the Word format. Kindly check the 5th September 2020 circular. Ensure all the clauses are updated, clauses are discussed, reported You have a sample for each clause which you are verifying and confirming that there are no cases or there are no adverse observations or comments under any clause should be backed by a sample. So please ensure whatever sample is picked is reported in the specific format of list of accounts examined as requested or as RBI has insisted in the revised format. Some of the important works before you wind up the branch audit: kindly discuss and confirm the final query sheet with the branch, discuss the draft report, quantify and discuss the MOC, issue the final report. If there is any points based on the materiality which needs to be quantified and MOC to be given, should be done. If based on materiality there is no MOC to be issued, should be reported if not material under the respective clause of the LFAR. UDIN to be generated like we have been doing each year for statutory audit report, certificates, LFAR, and tax audit report wherever applicable. Signing of statements, final sets, taking over of working papers. Please ensure before you leave the branch, collect all working papers, final set. Do not leave, as like I said, that after a few months, if you have to have any such document from the branch, would be difficult to obtain. The person or the branch head or the chief manager would have been transferred to some other branch. Your pending document, based on if requested by any issue raised by Reserve Bank on any particular account or by any other authority, would be difficult to reply. So please ensure all evidences, documents, confirmations, representation are obtained well before you leave the branch. Certificate of attendance before you leave the branch. These are certain checklists which you should have for each branch specifically, like branch audit program, the engagement letter, branch inquiry letter, checklist of advances, the format of audit reports, the latest LFAR reports, the circulars of RBI, representation letters, and the master circulars. These are just a list of requirements. This is the list of all the master circulars, the master directions, regulatory packages, circulars which have been issued earlier and during the year 2020-21, which I have just listed down for your reference, where you can use these circulars during the audit, which would assist you in effective and a qualitative audit. So kindly have these lists and download the relevant circulars which may be applicable for your particular branch. So these circulars consist of IRAC norms provisionings, circulars of loans and advances, and all other important circulars like agriculture or any subvention or any other classification circulars or fraud circulars is all available. So this was it from my side in terms of a little overview and planning in terms of the RBI clarification on classification of the advances during the year 2021, whether to make them as NPA or not to make them NPA. The income recognition, how you have to clause which has to be reported, and how your sample will assist you in completing each clause for effective and timely completion, and doing a qualitative and a quantitative audit for the stakeholders and for ICAI. So thank you very much for your patient hearing. Thank you, Bhopal branch, for giving it the opportunity. And I'm sure able to share my experience, whatever best I could do. If members have any questions, any doubts or any queries, we can discuss it now. Or if at any point of time during audit, if they have any such issue with respect to any of the clauses. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, Bhopal branch. Thank you, Anshul, Samank, and all the managing committee members of the branch. Thank you.
Pleasure is all ours.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for such a wonderful deliberation on the topic. I hope that all the members would have been benefited from your detailed deliberation, and this would help members in smooth conduction of banking revised audit LFAR. Now I would request members, if they are having any queries, it can be posted in the queries session, or they can raise in a chat box so that we can ask to our speaker about their queries, or they can raise their hands. We will unmute them and they can ask their queries.
Samanji, I don't think so. There are any queries. I would request members to provide their.
I'm not having at this point of time. There is one query of Mr. Deepak Agrawal ji. As account is under probable NPA, interest has not been served. Can it be declared as NPA?
Already discussed about the Supreme Court order of 3rd September 2020, that irrespective of the account in pro forma NPA or a potential NPA, interest not being served, the account cannot be downgraded or cannot be classified as NPA till we get any further notification from Reserve Bank for classification of these account as on 31st March, or if there is any further order being issued by Supreme Court over and above 3rd September 2020.
Our queries are coming.
There's one point I think Deepak has just mentioned about, is there any fees for additional certification by statutory branch auditors? 12% of basic fees as mentioned in RBI circular point number D. I think I'll just clarify on this, that the certification fees which is mentioned in the RBI circular is for the central statutory auditors who finally issue the certificate which are submitted to the authorities. Now you issue certificate as a branch auditor to central statutory auditors. The certificates are compiled and then issued to the respective authorities. So that 12% is not applicable for statutory branch auditors.
Okay. Mr. O.P. Sethia ji has raised his hand. I have unmuted him. He can ask his query.
Sir.
Sethia ji. Hello.
Sir, sir, Sethia ji, बताइए please.
I think there is some technical glitch. There is a query of one of the members. Can account be classified as NPA due to non-renewal of account? Abhay sir.
See, I think this is important members or auditors to know that, like I've already shared, that the issue you would face this time is for classifying the account as NPA. Now, if you see, the system has already been changed with respect to classification of accounts through CBS. Also, if there is a case of non-renewal or any non-receipt of stock statement for that matter, the account will not be classified till there is any notification further received from Reserve Bank. What is important as an auditor for us is to report such accounts under the respective clause, that these accounts are overdue, not renewed, not reviewed for more than 180 days, and should have been classified as NPA. You give a list of such accounts, but have not been classified as per the Supreme Court order of 3rd September 2020. And let it be reported in the audit report to be submitted to central statutory auditors.
And share the PPT. Now, sir, members are requesting for your PPT. If it would be great if you could share that at branch ID, then we will circulate.
Yeah, I'll do it. I'll send it to you, and you can circulate among all the members who have participated.
Surely, sir. Sure.
We will share it in the group, sir.
Are there any further queries? Because in my chat box, I don't have any. Pradeep ji, do you have at your
No,
chat
no, no.
box?
I am not. I don't have any in my chat box. And
Anshul ji, आपके?
No, nothing.
you have
Nine.
unmuted Sethia ji. Whether Sethia ji is Sethia ji, whether
Yes, Salil sir has raised his hand. I will unmute him. Salil sir, I am unmuting you. Please unmute yourself. Do you have any query? I think there is some technical problem. Salil sir.
Salil sir.
हाँ जी, yes,
Pavan.
Salil sir.
बोलिए सर.
Sir, it's Pavan. Pavan.
Pawan.
Pawan, please.
Sir, my query is where we are this central auditor in case of cooperative banks or then the restructuring which was allowed by the RBI to the banks. The board can do the restructuring by themselves, means the policy that they do the restructuring. We should comment on that thing for the sake of stakeholders.
No, you're talking about a normal restructured or a board approved policy for restructuring.
Sir, that
Sir, as
restructuring
per
that they are done
RBI.
from this, yes, for COVID.
See, if you see specifically, I have RBI asked in a specific clause regarding special package on regulatory packages which they've given on restructuring. Now, in case the account where moratorium and interest is not being serviced from 1st March to 31st August, and even later on. Now, the category of such account is standard account, but they are called it as restructured standard account. So if any such restructuring which is done by the bank without downgrading the account, because there is a special package of RBI, you cannot downgrade an account. So the category would be restructured standard accounts.
No, sir, my question is where we are the auditor in case of cooperative banks, we are central auditor in that thing. And the board has formulated as restructuring policy. So they can claim the policy anyhow. We can't comment on that. This policy is not in the interest of stakeholders.
See, actually, board policy cannot be above the Reserve Bank notification. Now, Reserve Bank notification is applicable to all banks, cooperative banks, urban cooperative banks, everyone. So we'll have to see as per the notification issued by Reserve Bank of India for restructuring. Now, if there is a board policy which is there, cannot be different from the special package or regulatory package given by Reserve Bank of India. So you'll have to check the policy, what exactly in the board policy for restructuring and is not in line with the regulatory package of Reserve Bank of India.
Okay, means RBI has formulated a policy that this will be the restructuring norms.
Correct. See, actually, restructuring norms for this year 2021, you'll see the circulars are already there of 17th of April 2020. When you go through the 17th April 2020, it talks about restructuring, but an ad hoc provision. So please check for this provision which is done at the respective bank you are undertaking, that a minimum 10% provision is required as per the circular of Reserve Bank.
Okay, sir. And one more question I have, that we have observed that some banks do short review for 2 to 3 years. In that short review they are doing since 2 years to 3 years.
Review?
Yes.
So 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, 2 to 3 times they are done short review because they have the financial.
Okay.
What should we do in that case?
See, actually, then again, this issue, if you see as per the IRAC norms talk about one review of 90 days. Then it talks about one more review of 90 days. So maximum a review of any account can be done for 180 days. Now, if you have more than 2 reviews which are done, now again would be an issue this year, because like I said, to classify an account, if done review twice, you should have classified the account as NPA. But now you cannot do it as per the Supreme Court order. So what best you can do is you can have to comment these accounts in the LFR that these accounts would have become NPA because been reviewed more than twice. But because of this order of Supreme Court or any further notification which we may get by say by another week or 10 days, if RBI clarifies on the NPA classification, that reference has to be given if the account cannot be made as NPA.
Sir, but if the account was not reviewed since 2016, only short review has been done, then that account would have been NPA on 23rd Feb 2020 itself.
See, what you are saying is right, but up 31st March 2020 ka audit is over. Now, if I'm doing an audit of 31st March 2021, I may have done the account NPA और मैं उसको सीधे D3 में classify करता because more than 5 years.
Yes.
But the problem is that the RBI or the Supreme Court order is restricting us to make an account NPA this year. So we'll have to wait till the time we get clarification or notification for making the account as NPA. But for you, you'll have to put it in the LFR or for that matter in the audit report that this is the list of accounts where review is not done since 2016. The account, if not done, date of NPA should have been whatever date after 6 months or after review 6 months you calculate, and the account should have been classified in D2 or D3 based on the classification norms of cooperative banks.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Sir, there is query. OP Sethi has WhatsApp करा है. LFR reporting as exhaustive with routine audit also required detailed documentation to fill the data, and for future reference, the bank refuses to part with most of the report, hard or soft copy. Matter is highlighted repeatedly and needs to be impressed upon.
Sorry, Samag, I missed it. Can you repeat it again, please?
LFR reporting as exhaustive with routine audit also required. Routine audit also required detailed documentation. Pradeep ji, आप 2 मिनट please mute करें अपने आप को. LFR reporting as exhaustive with routine audit required detailed documentation to fill the data and for future references. The bank refuses to part with most of the report, hard or soft copy. Matter is highlighted repeatedly and needs to be impressed upon. I think sir का पूछना ये है कि इतना detailed LFR है और bank at times does not cooperate and provide reports. So what can be done in that case?
Sir, first thing I would like to add here, Sethi sir, जैसे this notification was issued on 5th of September 2020, and after that the bank at regional level, branch level, and even at head office level they've all been prepared to provide information based on revised clauses. So when you reach the branch, they're already aware of all these clauses which are newly incorporated wide notification and what all requirement has to be given based on the revised clause. So this circular has already been issued to all the branches, the regional office, zonal office, and head office for ensuring compliance of these revised clause. But still, if there is issue in limitations in obtaining documents which is required to comment upon on LFR, that limitation has to be commented upon in the audit report. That these are the documents which was requested or was mentioned in the inquiry letter sent to the branch, but has not been received, which is given as a matter in the audit report to be reported to central statutory auditors. but your issue would not arise because all these clauses has already been communicated well in advance to all the branches.
I hope query of Sethiaji has been resolved. There is one.
Yeah, go ahead.
There is one query of the member that in case of LFAR, specifically in SBI, there is a limitation of words that can be entered. So,
correct. Actually, see, this issue is there in giving your observation in the audit report. Now, there is a limitation which is there. What you have to do is, wherever the observations can fit in the number of words where you have the limit available, you have to give. Otherwise, prepare a separate annexure where you have to write that observations, yes or no. You have to put yes in terms of the system generated audit report. And when you say yes, that annexure complete should be prepared, giving all your observation, and should be signed and submitted to the branch. Also, corresponding mail should be sent to central statutory auditors for their record that these are the observations along with the audit report which you have issued to the branch. You may have this issue with terms of limitation, but kindly issue a hard copy of report along with annexure to the branch. Also issue a signed copy to central statutory auditors.
query in the chat box. So, request.
Thank you, Samangji. I'm audible.
Yeah, you are audible.
Yeah. Thank you, Abhay sir. I, on behalf of Bhopal branch,
Just 1 second, Pradeep. Actually, there's one Tarash Jain. Is he there? Still there? He's asked one point. Example of RFA, red flagged account, and provide Excel of latest LFAR. So example of RFA account, there are no example, but I referred about a circular of 7th May 2015. Kindly check, there is a list of 45 items of early warning signals. Now, these are the early warning signals which later on confirmed to an RFA, a red flagged account. So kindly go through that circular, which would help you to decide an account, an RFA or not. And so far as Excel of latest LFAR, I've already shared the word LFAR. Annexures you have to prepare based on your requirement of respective clauses.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Have missed in
Thank
my
you,
chat
sir.
box. Thank you, Abhay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Abhay sir. I, on behalf of Bhopal branch of CIRC, provide my gratitude to CA Abhay Chhajed ji for providing the wonderful deliberation on latest amendments in LFR. I thank all the members who have participated, and I am very sure that they have been benefited by your deliberation. We at Bhopal branch, due to COVID pandemic, are forced to conduct your lecture on virtual mode, which you were very keen that it should be offline, sir. But it was very wonderful. We never felt that it was on virtual mode.
Okay.
And definitely we with your guidance we would be holding good deliberations in coming months. Thank you very much. Now, with the permission of chair, whether we should conclude the meeting.
I think we should, sir.
Thank you.
I think we should conclude. Thank you so much, Abhay sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Anshul. Thank you, Samang, and thank you, Pradeep, and managing committee members, and all the participants for the patient hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hello.